What's up, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. Today we're still here with our 17 Ridgeline. What we have done so far, we did the front brakes, we did the front mud flaps. This video is going to be for the rear brakes. So I'm just going to be doing one side at a time. It's easier to just do it that way, especially in the garage. There's not enough room for a jack behind it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pull this wheel off. We're going to start doing the rear brakes. It's a 22mm socket. You're going to want to break them loose before you lift the truck up if you don't have an impact gun. Like I said in the last video, I have an impact gun, so we got the wheel free. It spins. We're going to go ahead, rip those lug nuts off, take the wheel off. Okay, guys, so we're back here on the rear brakes. It looks like these use a drum in disc design, so there is a little brake drum in here for your emergency brakes. The plug for that is right here. We are going to want to make sure we swap that over to the new rotor, so be mindful of that. And there is a chance that we'll have to retract this guy a little bit to get this rotor off because we are replacing the rotors. But with that in mind, we have our 12mm socket and ratchet here. We're going to pull these two caliper bolts off to take the caliper off the bracket, and then we're going to get the caliper bracket off. Alright guys, caliper's off. Now we're going to pull the bracket, two 17mm bolts, get the bracket out of the way. We're going to use our impact screwdriver, take the set screw off, knock the rotor off. Alright guys, caliper bracket's off, sitting over here. We are going to be reusing the factory hardware. You don't have to. I just like OEM stuff as far as hardware is concerned. They just seem to fit better. So we are going to take this outside. We're going to wire brush that, clean it off. We're ready here to take the set screw out of this rotor. An impact screwdriver is going to be your best friend here because what this does is it impacts that screw off instead of trying to twist, because if you just twist, there's a good chance you'll strip it out, then you'll have to drill it. No one wants to do that. So these are real easy to use. Let me just spin this rotor a little bit so you can see where I'm at. Set the screwdriver up, grab your hammer and give it a good whack, and it literally makes taking this screw out that easy. So the screw's out. Now we can go ahead, take our hammer, bang the rotor off. You're going to want to twist and pull. It will come right off. And now we're going to take our little rubber plug here, like I said, because we do have to transfer that over to the new rotor. So we are going to want to save this. Just pull it out, set it aside, and we're going to get some brake clean these emergency brake shoes off, get the new rotor. So we went ahead, took some brake clean, cleaned off these shoes. You're just going to want to inspect them, make sure they're not separating from the backing plate. Sometimes from rust, what happens is it's called rust jacking. Rust builds up in between the shoe and the plate and pushes the material off of the shoe. So you're just going to make sure there's no separation. Everything looks good. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to clean our hub off a little bit with our whiz wheel, make it look good, and then we're going to get our rotor, slide it on. And at that point, we're just going to check our emergency brake adjustment. You're just going to want to make sure you have everything lined up in order to get your brake spoon or your flathead screwdriver, whatever you're going to use in there. And we just want to make sure everything's good here. Alright guys, so we got our hub cleaned off. You're going to want to make sure that you line this little screw hole here up top. Just make it easy for you because you are going to have to line that tapered screw hole on the rotor right here up with that. So just having it up top is going to make that a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and slide this rotor on real quick. Like so. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and put in our set screw. I am just going to put a little dab of anti-seize on there just so it comes out easier next time. Alright guys, we got our set screw in and our plug. We went ahead and adjusted these parking brakes off camera. You have to set this right up at the top. You'll see the little adjustment in there. I like to spin it out until it locks up and then go back about a half turn or so until you don't hear them rubbing anymore. And then you know that they're just about to make contact. So everything's good there. So now we can go ahead, take the caliper bracket outside, clean it off, bring it in, lube up the pins, get everything back together. Alright guys, caliper brackets cleaned up back in. We're going to go ahead, slide our slide pins out here, and we're going to go ahead and lube them up. I use a special Wagner silicone brake lubricant. It's important that you use a silicone lubricant because of this rubber bushing here. If you use something petroleum based, it will cause this rubber bushing to swell, seizing your slide pins, and you'll wear your brake pads out unevenly. So this is what I use here. You literally just put a little dab on there, put it back in. We're going to do the same thing to the top one. Then we're going to go ahead, Get our brake pads in. I am going to show you how to orientate them in the caliper bracket because there are 2 brake pads. One goes on each, wheel, the squealer. So I'll show you that when we get there. All right, so we got the front pad on. We used a little bit of that silicone I was telling you on the slides here. Now here is the brake pad that we are going to have to actually install a squealer on. Now you want this squealer to be on the leading edge of the rotor. So if the pad sits in the bracket like this and the wheel spins clockwise going forward, we're going to want this squealer down here on the bottom. So we're basically just going to install this onto the pad like so. There is a little spot for it right there. So now this is on the bottom. This will hit the rotor first, and now we can go ahead and put our lube on here, slide this into the bracket, put our return springs back in, and then we can compress our caliper. Alright guys, went ahead, compressed our caliper. The return springs are on the pads. You'll see them in here. And all we have to do is tighten down our 2 12mm bolts. And then we're done on this side. So I'm not going to record myself doing the other side because, like I said, on this, I just dropped my socket. It wasn't a 10mm, so I'm sure I'll be able to find it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the other side off camera. Then we're going to get in the truck, go ahead, pump the brakes, make sure everything's good. And then we're going to torque our wheels down to 94 foot-pounds. So bear with me. Let me get the other side done. We'll be back with you. Alright guys, so here we are driving the Ridgeline. I'm going to hit the brakes. It stops nice and straight. No pulsation, no pulls. I'd call that a job well done. If this video helped you at all, please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.